Don't forget that your skin is your largest organ, and the sun can be your skin's worst enemy. Dermatologist recommended Neutrogena products offer the ultimate protection for your skin. From makeup remover wipes to Hydro Boost Water Gel Facial Moisturizer, BJ's has your entire lineup of Neutrogena skincare products. And now through December 3rd, save $4 on any Neutrogena product at BJ's. Love your skin back and save now through December 3rd, only at BJ's.
Well. Shopping for a car?
Yep, Carvana made financing a car as smooth as can be.
Oh, yeah?
I got pre-qualified instantly and had real terms personalized just for me.
Doesn't get much smoother than that.
Well, I got to browse thousands of car options on Carvana, all within my budget.
Doesn't get much smoother than that.
It does. I actually wanted a car that seemed out of my range, but I was able to add a cosigner and found my dream car.
It doesn't get much...
Oh, it gets smoother. It's getting delivered tomorrow.
Visit Carvana.com or download the app to get pre-qualified today.
Times of old, in times of new, there's a God to follow to make it true. It's the pop culture field, man, get well. Africa.
Nice, man. I think we really killed that one.
If you didn't know what the episode was about based on the title, you definitely know what it is now. We like to honor many cultures here and give them all due respect. All from all around the world, folks. It's a pop culture field manual sitting right at the intersection of weapons action in the military and pop culture. I'm Israel.
And I'm Cameron. Yeah, sorry.
Yeah, you better get in there. I was going to.
And I'm Cameron Fad.
And I had this thought. I was like, I don't want to be. That's rude to just like, I'm Cameron or I'm Israel and this is Cameron. Like to introduce you.
Oh, you want me to be my own man, be my own voice?
Yeah, I just want you to stand up on your own, Cameron. You know, I'm tired of carrying you through this thing.
That's fine, man. I can get it going. Yes, folks, that is right. Today's theme is going to be all about Africa, and we're super excited because there are a lot of amazing pieces of pop culture that take place in Africa, and we are just more than pumped to talk about them with you and share a couple of ones that we picked for this list. Because, I mean, some of them you guys are very familiar with that we've talked about on this podcast numerous times, but some of them are also extremely obscure and I don't think have gotten a lot of the limelight in the whole pop culture kind of scope here. So I'm super excited. What about you, Izzy?
I'm excited, man. I feel like Africa has a long and tumultuous history. A lot of the stuff we're going to be talking about is more in the past, like say like 100 years. But Africa, I feel like especially Egypt gets a lot of love. Egypt gets a lot of love in pop culture. I think probably because it's Bible times. You know, it's Old Testament stuff. A lot of Old Testament and New Testament stuff takes place in Egypt. But man, it's like you got so much diversity in terms of like all these different. You can't say like African culture because it's not like one culture. It's you got the people up north, you know. You got Nigeria, you got West Africa, South Africa.
Africa is a melting pot.
Yeah.
Crazy. Yeah, there's a lot of different ethnicities there. There's a lot of different religions. There's a lot of different cultures that make up Africa. And even if you look at, you know, the primary ethnicity that occupies, they all have different cultures within their set tribes.
Right, yeah.
Yeah, so
exactly.
I mean, Africa is one hell of a melting pot, and unfortunately, it has been the center of a lot of conflict because of this.
Right. I think they got run through the ringer in the kind of the imperialism kind of era of American and world history, you know, because like you had England and Portugal and France and Spain and all these nations that were just like, I want this part of Africa, no, I want this this part of Africa, no, I want this part of Africa.
No, it's 100% true, and I mean you see with the UN of how, you know, how big or how widely the UN is involved in Africa currently. And I think, you know, one to just start it off, I mean, if you want to start way back as far as pop culture, because we have a couple old ones on here, and then we can end with some of the newer ones if you're okay with that.
Yeah, let's do it, man. If you're thinking of what I'm thinking, then let's do it.
So this one I just watched and I actually really enjoyed it. when I was doing research for this episode, I found out that it's one of Quentin Tarantino's favorite movies. So I was like, oh, so it must be good then. This movie is called Dark of the Sun from 1968. And it is about a professional mercenary named Captain Curry. And he has a good friend, Rofo, who is a Congolese soldier. Who basically, him and Captain Curry get hired to basically take a train, build a train, and take it into a rebel-controlled portion of the Congo to rescue, I say rescue, but it's you come to find out it's all about the diamonds. There's $50 million worth of diamonds that this mining company that hired them alongside the president of the Congo, because the mining company is sponsoring his legislation. So they hire these mercenaries to go retrieve the diamonds and also retrieve the mining refugees that happen to be there. But you realize that it's all about the diamonds. It's not, the people are like the second thought, but they kind of paint it in a way there's people up there, but also just there's $50 million worth of diamonds in a vault that we need. So they give them. They give the mercenaries 3 days to come up with a force and basically rescue the diamonds and the people. So Captain Curry and Rufo end up, putting this train together, which is super cool. They have like 2 flat train cars that they load up with sandbags and 50 cal machine guns, and then they put 50 cals on like the caboose and the top of the engine. So like this train is like totally decked out, and they get this force of Congolese soldiers that are captained by a former Nazi who still wears his swastika medal on his uniform. And at first, like, nobody trusts this guy. Obviously, he's a Nazi, but he's the best he's the best officer they have in that force, so they're like kind of forced to take him. But the dude's a huge asshole, and like it's funny because when they hire him on, Captain Curry's like, and if you're gonna work for me, you're gonna take that freaking swastika off. So he has him take the swastika off, and they're going to retrieve these these refugees, and they're encountering a lot of problems on the way. Like a UN plane sees the train and ends up firing on them, so they have to try to survive that. Also, they go to one of these train station stops, and the Nazi, like, they find these 2 kids like hiding out. And they're just kids that like live in the village, like just next to the station. So they they're like, give them some food and let them go. And the Nazi guy like takes them in the woods and then shoots them both.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, he like shoots them both. And he's like, don't you know that the rebels use kids as spies? Are you so blind? He's like, I'm just doing my job. And everybody's super pissed off about it because they're totally just defenseless kids. And that's where you see like, classic Nazi, right? And Captain Curry like looks at him and he's like, you know what? Put that swastika back on. And there's like a fight between Captain Curry and this Nazi officer, and the Nazi officer like uses a chainsaw in the fight, and like there's just a lot of action, and it's totally not a politically correct movie at all. It's basically the words Africa and savagery are completely interchangeable, and it's like there's a lot that goes on to it. And actually, in the research I put on it, at one point it was given an X-rated rating in Britain because of all the action and the themes and the racism and all this shit. So like, there's a lot of dark themes in this movie, but for 1968, it's great. Comparing it to Zulu that came 4 years prior, it's like night and day in the way they recorded it or the way they filmed it. Yeah,
that's pretty well. They were close to each other.
Yeah, no, that was really surprised because they're 2 completely different movies, but just the way you can tell the way they shot it, it was like this movie must have had a fat budget for the time because there's a lot of great differences between Zulu and Dark of the Sun. But yeah, man, it was definitely a really good. There's a lot of themes explored in it. There's a lot of morality. Kind of conscious decision making on the lines of morality, like what's good, what's bad. doing this job just for the money, while the Rufo is doing it because he doesn't want any money. He's just the Congo is his home, and he's doing it for patriotic reasons, and Curry's doing it for money reasons. So there's a lot of kind of inner character questioning, and then there's a story of friendship. There's a love romance between one of the women that they find, of course. There's a lot of things going on in this movie. I think it's an excellent movie, but probably couldn't be around today because of the current nature of the times. But
right. It's fine. It's wild, man. I can see why Quentin Tarantino liked it. He loves the violence, obviously, but it's not just violence porn. It sounds like there's some cool, like you say, character work in it, and then some morality behind it, which is wild to have. They either go one way or the other. It's a movie. It's either like, hey, you're going to watch this movie because of the violence, because it's like torture porn or whatever, or you're going to watch this like, drama over here. It's great when they combine it. They combine good elements of story and character with some awesome violence. Any chainsaw fight is good in my book.
Oh yeah, no, it's a great fight. He at the end of it, he disarms him with this wood pile of wood that they're using to basically create power for the train, and he takes the wood and he hits the chainsaw out of the Nazi captain's hand, and he drops him on the ground and basically puts his head on the railing of the train, and he's like, "Conductor, start the engine." And the train is rolling and he's gonna decapitate him, but then Rofo's like, "You're better than this," and pulls him off and rescues him. The German guy, he's like, "We need him, and you're yelling at your TV. You're like, "Why do you need this guy? You don't need this guy. He's literally evil." And it kind of, spoilers ahead, folks, but it kind of ends up being the death of that guy saving him, because there's this amazing, the one thing I really appreciate about older movies is the fighting scenes. You had to commit. There was no fancy effects. There was no, you couldn't, CGI anything. So there's this gnarly fight between Captain Curry and the Nazi captain at the end. And they're they're fighting in the jungle. They're fighting in the water. They're there's one point, there's this waterfall with vines hanging down, and they're jumping on the vines and punching each other as they're climbing down the vines. And it's a great last fight, and you can tell the actors totally commit to it, because they're straight up hurting each other. It's good. So that's Dark of the Sun. Takes place in the Congo. Definitely, I think if you haven't heard of it or seen it, take some time if you're interested. It does a good job, especially on the theme of this episode, which is Battleground Africa.
Nice, man. That's awesome, brother. Well, why don't we lighten the mood a little bit?
Sure.
I hear the sarcasm. I want to talk about a movie I just watched recently, because you're really good at watching these movies. In the lead up to an episode, Cam, you'll be like, "I'm gonna spend an entire day watching movies." I'm
That's because I have no life. I watched 3 of these yesterday.
That's awesome. I had been wanting to watch this, and I used this episode as an excuse because I think I even have the DVD somewhere, and I've never watched it, but Machine Gun Preacher came out in, I think, 2011? But it's also a true story. Talk about Zulu being a true story. This is a true story of a loser biker dude, drug addict, hates his wife, just gets out of prison, Sam Childers. And it's basically, he gets saved, he comes to Jesus, and he hears about aid work in Uganda area, and he goes over there, and then he starts seeing kind of the brutality. There's this warlord going around kidnapping children, and the whole child soldier phenomenon blows my mind, dude. But he sees some of that, and he sees just the devastation, kids getting murdered and burned alive, and them being forced to kill their own parents to join this warlord's this fighting against the government.
Definitely Coney vibes, huh?
Yeah, exactly. I think that might have even been the dude. But
remember when Coney was super big? Coney 2012.
Yeah, that's the dude that is doing that. Joseph Coney. Yeah. So anyway, he's a wild dude, and then so basically, and I'm looking at the wiki, and it says he's a Christian fundamentalist. I don't know what they think Christian fundamentalist means. I get the fundamentalist thing, but he's not a Christian in any way. This dude is definitely roasting in hell. Dude, this guy has 42 children, Joseph Kony.
Oh my God.
Anyway, Sam Childers gets there and he sees the brutality and he wants to help these kids out. So he makes like an orphanage. He gets all his money together. He built a shelter, an orphanage, but he also realizes that he has to provide protection. So he actually like starts getting into gunfights and battles with these Kony rebel guys. And so it's this kind of weird thing where he's a Christian and he wants to help these kids, but then he goes out and blows these dudes away. And you know, there's like aid workers that are like, you're just going to become just like the warlords and you can't give in to the violence and hate. And he's like, dude, what are you going to do? Like, if you don't do anything, they're just going to shoot you in the head and keep moving. You know?
Yeah. They won't be like, oh my God, these people are just peaceful. Let's leave them be. That's like,
right.
We saw that in Tears of the Sun. We know exactly how that went.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, they don't care. It's totally a brutal culture, and it's like survival of the strongest and fittest out there when it comes to these dudes. But the movie is cool because it shows the conflict between what he's doing and like his home life. Like he starts selling his car. He gets rid of his business that's supporting his family. Like his family doesn't even know who he is because he starts off really kind of peaceful, but then as the movie goes on, he gets more and more obsessed with providing for these kids at the expense of his wife and his own daughter at home.
Yeah.
And it's really rough. It ends with him kind of, the character at least, Sam Childers, Gerard Butler plays him, but he kind of has this kind of equilibrium, this kind of peace, but then that this is probably just like a constant struggle in this dude's life because, he, like this, like it's obsession. So like, is it really all that healthy? And like he's doing good, but he's ignoring his family. So is he really taking care of his obligations? Really good. Really, a good character piece. It's not all action. It's not all drama. So it's like this kind of weird slashy kind of half and half kind of thing. Like it does have action in it, but it's mostly about this guy's journey. And he like preaches too. Like this guy didn't go to like seminary or, I don't know how much of his Bible he's read, but he's up there preaching if they're like transcribing actual sermons that this dude's done. And he's just like, God doesn't want good people. He wants sinners. And you got to be willing to do what it needs to be done to serve his kingdom, which for him means like blowing dudes away in Africa.
Sure. Anything you got to tell yourself to sleep at night, I guess.
Yeah. So it's a nice kind of dichotomy kind of thing. Like, is he really doing good? Like, I know it's a noble cause. You want to protect these kids, but at what cost?
Yeah. And speaking of, child soldiers, this was another one that I watched and I thought it was really well done. It's a little new. It was 2015. It was on Netflix. It's called Beast of No Nation. And this one is all about child soldiers. And basically, Abraham Atta is the actor name. And he's a young boy in this movie. And his name, it's either Abu or Agu. I think I'm going to go with
Grogu?
Agu? I'm going to go with Agu, I think. And his name's Agu. Basically, I forgot which country it is, but it's Africa. It's war-torn. And there's a bunch of, there's the UN. There's all these different, different groups that represent different political agendas, basically just fighting each other. And one group comes in and completely slaughters Abu's father, his mother, his brother, like right in front of him. And he ends up escaping and runs into the bush and gets picked up by they call him the Commandant, who's played by Idris Elba. And he is a warlord of a NDF, National Defense Force, I think they call it, the NDF. And they're just a bunch of Bushmen. Like they're all, wearing loincloths and they have AK-47. Surprisingly, some of them even have M240 Bravos. It's super weird. But like they all have guns and, they're just this group of, freedom fighters, quote unquote, freedom fighters that are serving another politician. But Idris Elba takes Agu underneath his wing and kind of trains him and teaches him how to be a soldier. And he's maybe 12 years old, 11 years old.
Yeah, crazy.
And it's a crazy movie because there's also this one guy who fights basically naked. He carries a 240. They call him Tripod. And when you watch the movie, you realize why they call him Tripod. It's not because he carries a 240. It's because he has a massive dong. They're running into battle one time and he's just like not wearing any pants and his wiener's just like flapping out. It's huge. So I'm like, so that's why they call him Tripod. But yeah, it's a good movie too, but it's really intense. There's a lot of scenes in it that you're like, wow, like this
Graphic.
It's very graphic movie. But the crazy part is like when everything is said and done, like they end up, Idris Elba's character basically ends up going rogue. He takes his regiment of fighters and goes rogue against the politician he's serving because they end up disagreeing, and like they just go off on their own, and now they're like enemy of everybody instead of having all this support, which they really didn't have support. They were like living in built nature tents and everything, just living in the bush. But they go off on their own, and like they're trying to survive for like 3 months, and people are dying of starvation and disease and everything. And all the soldiers are like, we can't do this anymore. Like, we're done. Like, you're basically serving yourself now instead of like a cause. So they all end up leaving, and like this 12-year-old boy ends up getting picked up by like this, this, I don't even, what is it? How would you call it? Kind of like a boys' home of like refugees, kind of like, an orphanage. Okay. There you go. Thank you. And he like lives in this orphanage, and he's like trying to talk to like one of the workers there. And this kid who's 12 years old, you look at him, and I saw no difference between, some dude in his 30s that's been to Afghanistan 5 times.
Oh man.
And has like the PTSD, and like, but you're looking at this like 12-year-old boy who's like, I've seen terrible things, and I've done terrible things. He's like, you wouldn't understand, to like the lady. And it's a very powerful movie, but I definitely enjoyed watching it because like, oh man, it's how do I say this? To me, like, especially in pop culture, or if you look on Instagram nowadays, like a lot of the African like warlord fighters are like, their kit and stuff and weapons and how they choose to present themselves is for some reason is like super popular on Instagram.
Really?
Like the whole, like there's some pictures of like dudes holding AKs but wearing like man dresses and like the craziest bead necklaces and everything. It's just like this power move kind of like warfighter. When everyone's so focused on like, the most expensive gear and whatnot, but then these guys are like fighting with AK-47s and literally wearing no pants, like actually getting after it. There's like some weird obsession online with it. But this movie is just full of that. Like you look at these fighters and they're, you're smoking weed. They're like conducting near ambushes that are completely wrong. They're like shooting RPGs from the hip. And like, there's actually no like training that goes into it, but they think they're training, but they have more experience than anyone because they're totally getting in firefights and everything.
Right.
But it's just absolutely absurd, the entire movie. But it's a great one. I definitely enjoyed watching it. Plus Idris Elba, even though he has a British accent, he does like this African accent, and it's really good.
Yeah, he's a British dude. Cameron, I met him once.
Don't forget that your skin is your largest organ, and the sun can be your skin's worst enemy. Dermatologist recommended Neutrogena products offer the ultimate protection for your skin. From makeup remover wipes to Hydro Boost Water Gel Facial Moisturizer, BJ's has your entire lineup of Neutrogena skincare products. And now through December 3rd, save $4 on any Neutrogena product at BJ's. Love your skin back and save now through December 3rd, only at BJ's.
Oh, did you? I'd love to hear this.
And it's about as exciting as you might expect. He was actually a friend of mine, or a friend of mine was doing some work with him, and they kind of knew each other. But I went to my buddy. He had a band. I went to his. He was playing one night, and I was standing there, and Idris Elba was like standing right next to me, like, "Hey, dude, you know why?" He's like, "Oh yeah, we were talking, doing some stuff," and I think he was high too, so that was kind of cool.
Probably.
But that's it. That's when I met Idris Elba.
That's the story. Great story, man. Let's add it to the list.
Oh man, that's rough, man. That sounds like a pretty brutal. It's one of those important movies, right? It brings to light an issue that is half a world away for us. Like, I don't know if I'm ever going to meet or see anybody like from Africa, unless they do some sort of missionary work over here and they like asking for money for their missionary stuff over there.
Yeah. It's a brutal life, dude.
Man. It's unforgiving.
Not all, the problems that we say we have here pale in comparison. We have no problems compared to what is highlighted in this movie that these guys have.
Yeah, man. It's we have so much in terms of like civilization. Like we have so much padding out, because I mean, yeah, there's violence here, there's crime and stuff, but like it's within this like cone of civilization where things kind of basically work. We got running water, we got electricity, things kind of working. Yeah. And like we're going to eat today. And then on top of that, you're a kid. And like you say, man, I can imagine how many kids have just like have their childhoods stolen from them because some warlord's like, I'm going to teach you to kill and nothing else matters and your family's all dead or I'm going to kill them because you need to be attached to me now. And
plus they're like, they lose their innocence. There's one scene in this movie that is absolutely gnarly. He's like, they do this ambush on other troops. And they basically have one survivor that's not even a soldier. He's just an engineer they hired to like build a bridge, but they take him. And this is like Agu's like first kind of combat thing. And Idris, the commandant's like hands him a machete and he's like, you're going to kill this man. And he's like, kill this man because these are the people that killed your family. These are the people that killed your family. They're like, kill him now. These are the people that killed your family. And literally a 12-year-old kid ends up hacking this guy with another like 12-year-old kid named Stryker, and they become good friends, but Stryker dies later in the movie, but spoilers. But yeah, they literally hack this innocent guy to death with machetes, and it like shows the entire thing. And like at that moment you're like, these kids, they're not kids anymore. Like it's weird because throughout the movie they like play games and everything. But you're like, they're like trying, in a way, they're like trying to rescue their innocence, but like still being kids. Mm-hmm. But then like they're carrying AK-47s and, hacking people to death with machetes. It's raw. It's real. It's like, it's no joke.
You know what, man? This just the image of a child soldier actually reminds me, just random connection to, did you ever see Lord of War with Nicolas Cage?
Yeah, I have.
Yeah, that's a message movie about basically international arms dealing and then governments engaging in arms dealing in their own interests to different kind of competing nations, and that there's a whole sequence. The opening credit sequence is a bullet, basically the making of a bullet, the manufacture of a bullet. It follows this one bullet through the manufacturing process in a factory, and then it gets put in a box, and then it gets put in a magazine, and then the last bit before it gets shot out of a gun, and it's just shot right in the head of a child soldier, like in Africa somewhere. And it's kind of you kind of tracking. It's like tracking the movement of how these arms kind of get to these countries and stuff. And Nicolas Cage is out there dealing in all these arms. I think he might even go to Africa, so maybe there's that's one of the connections. But that's another kind of brutal one where he basically is struggling with what he's doing. Like, should he stop? What's the morality of what he's doing? That's kind of like part of the message of the overall. And then at the end, it's like he loses his family. His wife leaves him because she finds out what he does. And she's like, you either choose what you do or choose us. And he's like, but I'm really good at this. It's like it like defines him. And she leaves him. And at the end, he's kind of narrating and he's like, the most important lesson is never go to war, especially with yourself. And he's like decided that he's going to continue to deal arms and do what he does, It's kind of like his story. So another good one, Lord of War. It's another good like kind of message, quote unquote message movie. Really brutal, really crazy stuff.
Man, we're running short on time because I know there's like 2 or 3 I want to talk about much, but
you want to do our honorable mentions, or do you want to?
I really want to talk about this one just really quick, and then just because it's such I love this movie. It's The Siege of Jadotville from 2016.
Another Netflix one, right?
Yeah, or at least it's on Netflix. I'm not sure if Netflix created it.
Yeah,
but
it's
pretty
50
much
Shades of Grey, dude. I think.
Yeah, I think so too. And it's about an Irish army company from the UN that's tasked with guarding a uranium mine near the town of Jadotville. Wait. Yeah. And basically, like in the country, the government and the mining companies control these countries because that's where all the money comes from, and that's where all the resources out and the imports and exportation of these precious minerals. Pretty much, they decide what's happening, right? Whoever has the most money decides what's happening. But this Irish army that has never been to war. Like Ireland just does not fight. That's like what they just don't fight. But then, anyways, they end up getting basically tasked here, and the former owners of the mines that they're controlling want it back. So basically, they hire these mercenary armies to, wreak havoc in the UN. And this base that these Irish companies at is like where they choose to try and, kill them all just to send a message. They end up blowing up a hospital, I think, as like a message. But like this company is, or this base is like the main point of conflict. But instead of just tucking tail and running, the Irish company that's stationed at this base is like, no, we're going to fight. So they end up fighting against waves and waves against mercenary armies. And the crazy thing is afterwards, they have no choice. They go black on ammo. They have no choice to surrender at the end. And like I'm telling you, they fight until the last bullet. And finally, to save his men, the commander of that base, the Irish commander, is like, we have to surrender. But everyone's like, sir, you're making the best call here. So they surrender, end up going to prison. They all face military justice afterwards for being cowards.
Oh,
and then,
come on.
Yeah, they're all stripped of their rank and everything. And then years later, the true story of what happened here came out. And then they were all reinstated. They were all given medals. And it became a movie. But yeah, it's a really good one. Siege of Jadotville. It's a modern movie about an old fight. Yeah, and that's why I'm like, if they remade Zulu like this movie, I think it would be an amazing movie.
Nice. Well, hey, if you get a quick one, I get a quick one.
Quick one.
Resident Evil 5, baby. Takes place in Africa. Boulder punching Chris Redfield. It's fighting. I guess in this one he's working for the BCAA or something like that. Branch chain amino acids.
I was gonna say branch chain amino acids.
The BSAA. Basically they're looking to clean up the remnants of Umbrella Corporation, but there's like a different corporation that's taking care, doing the Las Plagas thing in Africa. And Sheva Alomar is his sidekick. You got a brainwashed fight scene you got a fight scene with brainwashed Jill Valentine, not a brainwashed fight scene. Super cool, like the way they do the fight scenes with Jill Valentine and super duper mega ultra Albert Wesker is awesome. And then of course there's the battle in the volcano at the end where Chris has to punch a bunch of boulders and then fire an RPG at a totally monstered out Albert Wesker. Finally, Albert Wesker dies in this one. But anyway, that's my quick mention. Resident Evil 5. How to get those nerdy gamer points in there.
I got you, man. I mean, these are all great. We still have more on our list, like honorable mentions, obviously Black Hawk Down, but we've talked about that so much. Yep. We mentioned Tears of the Sun in this podcast. We actually watched it with our patrons, so there's another reason to get on there, because we watch movies like that. Yep. Another honorable mention, District 9, Hotel Rwanda.
Yep, Alien Apartheid.
Yeah, and then the Rogue Heroes TV show about the foundation of the British SAS takes place in Cairo, and I got like 5 episodes in. It's really entertaining. I really like it. Like they basically have no airborne training at all, but they end up getting parachutes and like just jumping out of a plane, like to learn how to infiltrate. They're all a bunch of ballsy, gutsy soldiers that literally they only hire the people that are like that have Article 15s essentially. So if you hate authority and you're a really good soldier, you will get hired by the SAS when it was starting.
I love it. They take the scrappiest dudes. That's like, we'll take anybody. We're gonna make this elite, completely dangerous and untested unit.
Yeah, no, it's really entertaining show. If you have the chance, watch it. It's really, I think season 1's out. They might be doing a season 2, but I'm not too sure.
Right on.
But yeah.
That's just as a side. Isn't Chris Hemsworth doing one? It's like the Department of Ungentlemanly Warfare or something. That's about the birth of the OSS or something. I have no idea. Great. Yeah, I can't wait to see that. He was posting about his Instagram the other day, but
that sounds cool.
But
cool,
great,
man.
Yeah.
That's our list, folks. We have a fan question that comes to us from Max Graff on Instagram, and Max wants to know, If Cam and Izzy could be a character in any movie to change the outcome, what movie and what would they change and why?
Change the outcome. Ooh,
Yeah,
I
so
got
if you could be a
couple.
character and you can basically change the outcome of the movie, which movie would it be and why? I kind of answered this question on Instagram forum already, but for those that don't know my answer, we on a past episode, we talked about Monster Hunter, the movie remake of the video game. And I would want to be a character in this movie so that I can convince the production to stop making this movie because it is absolute garbage. And that was my answer.
That's a good one, man. I got one for you. If you guys don't know me, for those that have been listening, maybe you might know this, but I hate downer endings. Like where the good guy dies and the bad guy wins, or it's like things are like movies like Atonement, or just like really just irredeemably. There's one called Dancer in the Dark with Bjork. Like I call them irredeemably depressing, where they're just so depressing. It doesn't matter how well made they are, how well crafted they are. I just can't enjoy them because they're just so sad. And there's one movie called Life, and it's a space sci-fi film with Ryan Reynolds and Jake Gyllenhaal and Rebecca Ferguson, and they catch this meteor from Mars, they create a life form out of it, and then the life form just gets loose and just starts brutally killing everybody on the ship. And they're trying to stop it, and it keeps evolving, it gets worse and worse.
Such a sci-fi theme.
That's
man,
like
sci-fi 101.
It's a study in how to make the audience uncomfortable with just like the worst deaths possible. Somebody like drowns in their own like liquid oxygen tanks, like gets loose in their suit and they're in space and they drown and they float off and they're dead. And Ryan Reynolds, the thing gets in his mouth and it like tears apart his insides. You can see his insides being like torn apart inside his body, and he dies. And basically at the end, I'm going to spoil it for you, and I'm going to urge everybody to never watch this movie. Please don't give the director or the company any more money, because I hate this movie. But basically, they're going to try to lure it. They're going to have they have two escape pods, and one
You're wanting to watch this movie.
No, Cameron, don't do it. Don't give them what they want. Don't let evil win. The two escape pods, Jake Gyllenhaal's gonna lure the monster into the one. He's gonna sacrifice himself. He's gonna shoot his off into space. It's going to be gone. And Rebecca Ferguson's character is going to get into one escape pod and shoot down to Earth. Well, the movie does it where it's kind of like trick photography, where the spaceship is blowing up, their space station is blowing up. They both shoot off, and then they kind of hit each other. And then one goes off into space and one goes to Earth. And the movie gives you the impression that it's Rebecca Ferguson's escape pod that makes it to Earth, but it's not. Her escape pod goes off into space and she's going to die. She's screaming, no, and then she's dead. And then the other one with Jake Gyllenhaal and the monster in it lands on Earth. And the last thing you see is these dudes like, oh, we should help him. He's like, don't open the door, it'll escape. And they like go to open the door, and like, that's it. That's the end of the movie. So basically Earth is dead. This thing's going to kill everybody. Boo, downer ending.
So who would you be and how would you change it?
I would change it. I just have him, Jake Gyllenhaal, and the dude and the alien monster go out into space, and he sacrifices himself nobly.
You wouldn't shoot. You'd be the guy shooting the pods off, and you'd be like, okay, one has to shoot.
I'd be the character. Yeah, I'd be the character, and I would shoot my pod off sooner so that it doesn't crash into her pod and make her go off into space and me go down to Earth. That's how I would change the ending. I guess directorially I'm speaking of, but I hate that movie. I hate that movie almost as much as I hate It Comes at Night. Never watch the movie It Comes at Night. It's the most depressing movie you'll ever see. Your life will not be better for it, okay? I don't care if you like this really artistic guy, like my buddies Sean and Dan, and they think it's so amazing when something has a downer ending because it's different, and I like the artistry and stuff. Don't do it, folks.
Can't all be sunshine and rainbows, Izzy.
I'm not saying, I have a saying, and that is you have to earn your ending. And you know what? Actually, no, I'm not even going to use that because I just don't like the endings of these movies. On a personal gut level, I don't like them because life is hard enough, man. We got child soldiers in Africa freaking dying, and then we got some hoity-toity artistic director be like, I'm going to make life. That's what I'm going to do with my life. That's how I'm going to contribute to society.
Well, man, I don't want to say that affected you personally, but I think you're okay.
But whatever, I don't really care.
Yeah, but whatever. Let's end up good with the game.
All right, let's
just
go
play
to the
a game.
game. All right,
now that we're in this thing, and
I got a
I
game
don't
for
have
you.
the game, so
I
that means
have the
you
game.
have the game.
Well, but isn't my old friend Cam back for more game time punishment? This is Chris talking to you. This game is a special one designed just for you, Cam. It's called Africa or No Africa, and it's simple. I'm going to name something from our massive pop culture database, and you tell me if any part of it takes place in Africa.
Okay, easy enough. Sounds simple, but obviously it's a Chris game, so it's going to make me look like a fool.
Remember, it's like you always say, Cam, you got a 50-50 shot. Sure.
Well, I'm ready to play, man.
Let's do it, man. This is the warm-up. Out of Africa.
Out of Africa. I'm assuming they're out of Africa, but it probably takes place in Africa in the very beginning, so I'm just going to say it's in Africa at one point.
Correct, it is. I think it takes place entirely in Africa, actually.
Okay.
It's one of those trick titles. All right, next one. First official one. Let's do it. John Wick Chapter 3.
John Wick Chapter 3 does take place in Africa at one point because he has to... Yeah, he goes to... Actually, I'm sorry, no, he goes to the Middle East. And I'm pretty sure it is in... I'm going to say no, it does not take place in Africa.
Should have went with your instincts, Cam. It does take place in
Africa?
Morocco.
Morocco is in Africa.
Halle Berry and her dogs. That's the amazing fight
I was
scene.
thinking of that scene too, but I'm like, is that in the Middle East? But it's like probably in northern Africa where like Egypt is and all those.
It's close. Yeah.
It's close. Okay. Man, I should have went with my gut. But anyways, I'll take that out.
It's all right, man. You got many more chances to fail. Let's do Far Cry 2, the video game.
Far Cry 2. Never played it, so I'm just going to take a 50-50 shot in the dark here. I'm going to say it doesn't take place in Africa.
Oh, wrong again, Cam. It does take place in Africa. That's right. An unnamed African country to kill the infamous arms dealer known as the Jackal.
Okay. Starting off really strong stench of failure. All right, here we go. The Ghost in the Darkness. The Ghost in the Darkness. Ghost in the Darkness is what? I don't even know what this is. It's a movie. It's a movie. Oh. I'll give you a hint. It stars Val Kilmer. Ghost in the Darkness. Ghost and the Darkness. Two things. Ghost and the Darkness. Yeah. Ghost and the Darkness. Huh. I mean, just because it's Val Kilmer doesn't really help me. I'm just gonna say no. It doesn't take place in Africa. Cam, sorry, my friend. You are incorrect. It does take place in Africa. Cameron, come on, listen. You got to play the numbers here. I'm like, okay, we had two that do. Might as well throw one in here. I'm just gonna keep riding that. If I don't know what the next one is, I'm gonna say no as well. So what is the next one? All right, here we go. The next one is The Woman King. The Woman King takes place in Africa. Yes. All right, you got one, Cam. Good job. See, I told you, unless I knew, because that's a newer one that just came out. Yep. Yeah, fairly. Yeah, you can't hardly help but to have seen maybe a trailer in the. Yeah, sure. That one's fresh in my brain. So yeah, that one definitely takes place in Africa. Strong female characters. There you go. Strong female characters. Speaking of strong female characters, I don't know. That could mean anything. Halo ODST. The video game. Halo ODST. ODST, yeah. We actually played this on my stream, twitch.tv/myhappyself. So they go to Earth in Africa? I don't think so. They'll probably go to a planet that looks like Africa. African planet? I'm going to say a no. We're back on track, Cameron. That is incorrect. They're in Africa? I didn't even know they're still like messing around with Earth in Halo. Well, yeah. I mean, in ODST... in a lot of the future mythologies for like a lot of sci-fi video games, it's presumed that the whole world is just advanced. And so it's technically Africa, but it looks like any other futuristic city, It's not like they're out on the plains. It's just, I gotcha. Mombasa City in Kenya. Yeah, a city in Kenya, Mombasa. So wow. Okay. Mombasa, Mufasa. Okay, we have two left, Cameron. Get ready. Red Scorpion. Haven't heard of this one either. I'm going to say it does take place in Africa. Why not? Oh, I'm sorry, Cameron. You've broken your streak. You are correct. Oh, okay, man. I just wanted you to keep that losing streak. I guess all of these take place in Africa then, huh, Chris? That's actually one we've talked about before briefly in our Russia episode. It stars Dolph Lundgren. It's an 1888 movie. A Spetsnaz commando is sent on a covert mission by his Soviet superiors to infiltrate a rebel army and assassinate its leader. Oh, yeah, I remember Then I think he turns good in that one, so... okay, last one, Cameron. Let's see if you can stay in the red here.
Resident Evil 6.
Resident Evil 6?
Resident Evil 6.
Okay, not the 5th that you just mentioned. I'm just going to stick with my guns here and go, no, it does not take place in Africa.
Congratulations, Cam. You are correct.
Oh, man. He had to throw a ringer right at the end.
Yeah, pretty much every single one here except for the last one all take place in Africa.
Oh, my God. Well, I mean, I got some right.
You did. You got three out of, you got 4 wrong and 3 correct. So,
okay, that's fine.
That's pretty good. That's a solid CD average or whatever.
At the Izzy University of Bad Math. Yeah, that's fine. Hey, man, I got some right, so I will take it. I'm not a Debbie Downer here. I had fun playing that game, and you learn something every game.
I do too. I feel like I learned a lot that one. But apparently a lot of cool pop culture takes place in Africa, guys. So way to go, apparently. Africa.
Way to go, Africa. You rock. And most importantly, you rock if you're listening to this. Folks, that's going to be the end of this episode. We hope you enjoyed it. If you made it to the end, that means you are a Patreon subscriber, and we appreciate you. Looking forward to seeing you guys at the live movie streams coming up. And Izzy, you got anything you want to take us out on?
Hey, thanks for joining us, folks. We always we enjoy doing this. We hope you enjoy listening, and we'll see you on the next one, team.
Cue the music. Cue music.
Cue the music. What's going on, everybody? You just listened to the free version of the PCFM podcast. If you want full-length versions of podcast episodes, plus much, much more, head on over to our Patreon page at patreon.com/PCFM podcast.
That is right, Israel. If you want access to this full episode, you have to subscribe to the Fuzzy Private tier, which is our cheapest tier on Patreon at $5 a month. But if you are interested in a little bit more, we also have the Salty Sergeant tier at $8 a month and the Lifer tier at $12 a month. So, hopefully, we will see you there, PCFM family. Cue music.
Don't forget that your skin is your largest organ, and the sun can be your skin's worst enemy. Dermatologist recommended Neutrogena products offer the ultimate protection for your skin. From makeup remover wipes to Hydro Boost Water Gel Facial Moisturizer, BJ's has your entire lineup of Neutrogena skincare products. And now through December 3rd, save $4 on any Neutrogena product at BJ's. Love your skin back and save now through December 3rd, only at BJ's.
Well, shopping for a car?
Yep, Carvana made financing a car as smooth as can be.
Oh, yeah?
I got pre-qualified instantly and had real terms personalized just for me.
Doesn't get much smoother than that.
Well, I got to browse thousands of car options on Carvana, all within my budget.
Doesn't get much smoother than that.
It does. I actually wanted a car that seemed out of my range, but I was able to add a cosigner and found my dream car.
It doesn't get much...
Oh, it gets smoother. It's getting delivered tomorrow.
Visit Carvana.com or download the app to get pre-qualified today.